Thank you for watching or listening to this free podcast of the Young Turks. We want to make sure that you get some portion of the show every day, but if you want the full show, which is actually 5 segments, come become a member and support independent media as well. tytnetwork.com/join. Meanwhile, enjoy the free podcast. All right, welcome to the Young Turks show. Okay, don't drop it. It's not Friday. Okay, so a little bit later in the program, down goes Matt Lauer. What in the world? Apparently fired over sexual harassment. Significant stories about that. We'll get to that a little bit later. And then that leads to Trump talking about Joe Scarborough's dead intern. What in the world? Like this, man, news is going 1,000 miles an hour here. And so that's all a little bit later in the program. And we've got our usual spate of corruption stories. And slavery's back. Man, it's a good thing that we got a recipe for change for you guys. Otherwise, the news is oftentimes, unfortunately, quite horrific. All right, so in fact, let me start with the good news and hope and change and all that wonderful stuff in the world. Can I see where justdemocrats.com/Allison is? All right, now look, you guys helped us to reach the goal that we needed for the voter rolls. As I'm about to tell you guys about some other candidates for the Just Democrats, folks, they need to hire staff, man. There's actually wonderful volunteers. 600 people have already volunteered for Allison Hartson for Senate candidate against Dianne Feinstein. But obviously we need more money to actually help with those volunteers and to coordinate them. All right, but the new goal is 203,000. Can I see 203,000? Can I see it? Okay, we're at 180,127 there. Obviously, the place to go is justicedemocrats.com/Allison, okay? Well, there it is, only one L, but if you mistype it and put in 2 L's, it'll get you to the same place. We're thinking ahead. Okay, did you know Dianne Feinstein was for the Bush tax cuts? Have I mentioned that before? Do you know that Dianne Feinstein is for the death penalty? Can I understand why we have a wildly conservative senator in California pretending to be a Democrat? Anyway, let me see how get money out of politics is going. Wolf-pack.com/John. This is a guy we nicknamed the Closer. I love this. He'd like to join Aces and the Mechanic, who are the last hires for Wolfpack. Allison, of course, running for Senate now, so we need to not fill her shoes. That's not possible. And John's not going to be national director, but he's going to help in a big, big way. He's a Yale-educated guy who has helped in Connecticut in the past. And we're trying to raise 250 new members for Wolfpack. Get money out of politics. We passed in 5 states. We need to pass in 5 more. Can I see how we are? 58 donors. Look, this is just $10 a month, man. That's all it is. $10 a month. You want to give more? Bless your heart. You can see. Want to give $1,000 a month? We'll take it. But wolf-pack.com/John. $10 a month will do it. And we need to get 250 members before the end of the show. I'm kidding. End of the year. Okay, but end of the show would be awesome. All right, now let me give you updates on some Just Democrats and then another story that we broke from TYT Investigates thanks to you guys over here. Okay, here comes the Justice League. We got 3 excellent candidates among the Just Democrats that I want to tell you about. They've got a lot of volunteers, but they need some full-time staff. So let's go through these folks. Charter Richardson, Florida 7th District. He's taking on a Blue Dog Democrat. I don't want any Blue Dogs. He was the head of the ACLU down there. Support him. Cori Bush, Missouri's 1st District. She led the St. Louis protests. I'm going to tell you more about that in a second. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to take down, Say It Ain't So Joe Crowley in New York. Is Wall Street's favorite Democrat. And Alex is going to defeat him. So how are you guys going to help? jdems.us or us, both are good, US or us, depending on however you want to pronounce it. dash TYT3, okay? So we're going to have that link for you, obviously, in the description box. Sometimes we're going to have it at like this corner here. There's like an eye. Sometimes that works. Click that corner, see what happens. Anyway, why do we need to go forward on this? Like, Cori Bush is running a terrific campaign in Missouri. And look, she's not a standard politician. She actually could have run for a Senate seat, but she works in her district, and she has to report to work every day. She's a regular human being. And on top of that, and on top of running for...
we need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
A congressional race, she went and led the protests in St. Louis over and over and over again, and she was featured in the national press for it because she deserves it. And she was there before any of the cameras showed up. She was there before the congressional run. In fact, Just Democrats picked her because we knew that she'd been there for the community all along and had led protests and is uncorrupted. So they're not taking any big donor money. If they're not taking big donor money, you got to help them out with small donor donations. Otherwise, they can't win. So now let me show you Chardo Richardson. He's running in Florida's 7th district. He's running against Stephanie Murphy, one of the most conservative blue dog Democrats in the country. If you're in a Democratic district, you're in a progressive district, why don't you have a progressive as your congressman? Republicans won't tolerate anyone that's in a deeply red district that isn't right of Attila the Hun. So I don't know why the Democratic Party keeps asking you to bow your head and to take corporate Democrats when in a blue district, you can take anyone you like. You could have a real progressive. And Chardo, like all the Just Democratic candidates, does not take corporate PAC money. So you can trust him that he's actually on your side and for the right reasons. Small donor donations wins the day. I want to give you, by the way, Chardo's race is one of the top 10 races according to CNN. Gregory Krieg said, an upset here would signal a big shift in the direction of the party's progressive wing for Sunshine State Democrats. So if you're in Florida, look, in all these cases, keep volunteering because the volunteers are going to win this race. But the reason we're doing the fundraiser now for these specific three is they're great candidates and great races. But in order to organize the hundreds of volunteers they have, they need campaign managers. And you're going to think that's funny, like, oh, campaign managers, isn't that thing you're supposed to have right away? Yes, if you take big donor money and you take corporate money, yes, some IBM will get you your campaign manager or whatever. Sorry to IBM for throwing them under the bus when all the companies donate. And then you can, Feinstein in California has plenty of money. She has millions of dollars. She is a campaign manager. We are doing it with small donor money. And these guys are in super competitive races. They have excellent chances of winning because of their volunteer army. But those volunteer armies needs a head. We need to have full-time staffers running those volunteers. So please, jdems.us/TYT3. Again, the link will be in the description box. It'll be on Facebook on the comment section. And then I think over here somewhere. Okay, well, last one for you. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez running in New York, 14th district. And she's running against Joe Crowley. Joe Crowley is Wall Street's favorite Democrat. and that district's in the Queens and the Bronx, but he doesn't live there. He lives in Virginia. He's lived in Virginia for a long, long time. His kids go to school there. He basically got appointed to that seat. That doesn't seem very democratic. And why is he high up in Democratic leadership? Because he brings in the money from Wall Street. That is not what the constituents in the Queens and the Bronx are looking for. They're looking to get represented. So if you don't want your congressman representing the donors, you want him representing you. That's why we've got the Justice Democrats and the Justice League. So go to jdems.us/TYT3. Click there and donate. Trying to get to $100,000 to be able to hire these staffers. jdems.us/TYT3. And obviously go to the description box to click that link and help out. And once you do, if they upset these conservative Democrats, even if you gave $3, you get to say, I did that, which is kind of an awesome feeling. Election night is going to be electric. There's the primary nights when some of these folks, progressive Democrats, taking on corporate Democrats, and then there's going to be the general election fights against the Republicans. Let's go do this together. All right, one more story for you guys in this segment. Okay. Now, we've told you about Mick Mulvaney. He was the director of the Office of Management and Budget. He is massively for tax cuts for the rich, says it all the time. Oh, the tax plan winds up raising taxes on the middle class and the poor. Oops, did we do that? What a coincidence. Well, that wasn't enough for Mick Mulvaney, so he wants to move over to Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and Donald Trump has appointed him as the acting director, even though technically and legally he's not supposed to be the acting director. By law, the acting director is the deputy director. So they made a mess of it. It's an absolute constitutional nightmare. But why have they gone through these extra lengths and potentially illegal acts to get Mulvaney into that bureau? Because it's in the name. It's supposed to protect consumers, and they don't want that. Mulvaney in the past has called it a sick, sad joke. This agency he has come in to destroy, and has authored legislation to completely eliminate the agency. So he is there to destroy the agency, not to run it. And we told you in a recent TYT Investigates report that according to the data maintained by the Center for Responsive Politics, Mulvaney's $31,700 in donations puts him ninth on the list of members of Congress receiving donations from the payday loan industry, taking in more money than almost all House representatives and all but 2 senators. So he is owned by the payday loan industry, among the biggest contributors to his campaigns. By the way, also takes money from giant banks, also regulated by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and that's why he'd like to destroy it, because his donors are not happy with it. In fact, one of those payday loan companies, as we reported to you earlier, told Donald Trump, we want you to intercede on our behalf about a month ago when the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau set laws that would protect consumers against these payday lenders. And now the Trump administration is interceding. Now, the new report is that it turns out Mulvaney's chief of staff recently resigned, and you're not going to believe where he's going to work. It turns out he's now a lobbyist for the payday loan industry. Wow. Look, their corruption is so brazen. Trump ran against the swamp, and now they're taking pictures of them swimming through the swamp, having a good time, having a party, having drinks inside the swamp. So let me tell you about this particular corner of the swamp. Al Simpson, reportedly, he was the former chief of staff to Mulvaney, reportedly got Mulvaney into politics as a South Carolina state legislator and served as Mulvaney's chief of staff from 2010 through January of this year, shortly before Mulvaney left Congress to take the helm at the Office of Management and Budget. That month, Simpson became a managing director of Washington lobbying powerhouse Mercury Public Affairs. I wonder what Mercury Public Affairs is going to get paid to do. Well, let's find out. As Jonathan Larson reports at TYT Investigates, since then, Simpson has registered as a lobbyist for 7 companies, 3 of which are financial firms. One of those firms is Harpeth Financial Services, a payday lender, which does business as Advanced Financial. So he is, of course, hard at work trying to protect not consumers, but the payday lenders that are ripping them off. Simpson's registration form lists only a single issue on which he anticipated lobbying for Harpeth, and that is Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reform. Then he calls up his former boss, goes, hey, I got a great idea. Why don't you just take over the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and light it on fire? And then that way the lobbyists, he's the lobbyist, the companies that are paying me to lobby will get a great return on investment. And by the way, look, you'll see how much he got paid. In the month afterward, according to Mercury's most recent disclosure form, Harpeth paid $10,000 for Simpson to lobby Congress and the Office of Administration about Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reform. And look at how easily and cheap that they're bought. So the former chief of staff of Mulvaney goes and becomes a lobbyist, gets paid $10,000, and he's like, okay, we're not protecting consumers, that's for sure. Okay, they're trying to pass rules against payday lenders. Payday lenders, which are basically modern loan sharks. Their interest rates are in the hundreds of percents, over 300% interest rates. It's preposterous, it's insane. There used to be laws against that at the state level, there are still laws against that. But they pay off national congressmen like Mulvaney, who then go into the administration, and their lobbyists. They pay them campaign contributions. Mulvaney, $31,000, that's all it took to buy him. The amount of money that is involved is billions of dollars. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau returned $12 billion to you guys because of fraudulent schemes that banks and other financial institutions ran. They were so fraudulent that even with their army of lawyers, the bank said, yeah, you got us. Okay, here's $12 billion back. That's how they protected you at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, you pay off Mulvaney with $30,000, you pay off his chief of staff with $10,000, and they come in and they destroy the place. That's the battle plan. One last thing. Every once in a while, you'll hear conservatives or Republicans say, no, it's okay, we have full transparency. No, we tell you who we're getting bribed by, and then it's up to the voters, right? No, there is no transparency here. Simpson's form that he's supposed to fill out as a lobbyist did not disclose that he used to serve as chief of staff to Mulvaney. Although the Lobbying Disclosure Act requires lobbyists to disclose past work for members of Congress, Simpson's position as chief of staff is not listed even on forms filed for other clients disclosing he was lobbying Mulvaney's Office of Management and Budget directly. So no, there's no transparency. They take the legalized bribes, they put it in their pockets, and then they turn around and they don't tell you about it. And then they pretend that they're honest actors. And all of television goes, oh, there's a debate about what to do with the Protection Bureau. There's is financial regulation helpful to consumers? Or is deregulation the way to go? Maybe if we let the banks have no rules at all and and consumers have no protection at all, that might help the consumers. I don't know. It's an honest debate. It's not an honest debate. We legalize corruption in this country. Wolf-pac.com to get the money out. You need to pass an amendment. Otherwise, these legalized criminals are going to come in and rob you. And that's what they're trying to do by destroying this agency. So at least we caught Al Simpson. Even though he did not do what was required by the law in telling you who he actually worked for. So now, armed with that information, you ought at least understand what is going on here and the scam that's being played. And if you voted for Trump, thinking that he was going to protect you from the global financial elites, they're laughing their ass off at you. The head of Goldman Sachs is now the top economic advisor for Donald Trump. His Treasury Secretary worked for Goldman Sachs. He's got about 5 people in the West Wing that were from Goldman Sachs. These payday lenders have now come in and bought off the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and they are laughing at you as we speak. You won't get any more protection. Unfortunately, with no cops on the street, particularly on Wall Street, the robbers are about to go wild. Okay, I got to take a break here. When we come back, Trump does insane fake news against Muslims. So now you guys might have already seen what he tweeted out about 3 videos about Muslims doing terrible things, according to Trump. And it's from a far right-wing group in the UK. But wait till you find out what those videos actually are. Amazing. All right, we'll tell you that when we come back. You're right in the middle of this podcast. We got another great segment coming up for you. If you'd like the full show, which is actually 5 segments, go to tytnetwork.com/join. You become a member, you support the show, you support independent media, and you get the whole 2-hour show ad-free every day. Let's go do it now. All right, back on the Young Turks. Cenk John with you now. We're going to carry it home here for the rest of the show together. Smegman writes in, letting Trump skirt around less well-known laws is going to open up the door for him to do whatever he wants. That's why we've got the TYT Investigates crew checking in on all that stuff and reporting it for you guys. Now they're getting pick up in other parts of the media as well because their investigations are excellent. Check them out, of course. Whenever we do a story about them, the link will always be in the description box on YouTube if you're watching later. And obviously, if you're a member, all their investigations are on our website. And thank you guys. Thank you for creating that team in the first place.
I wish we had more.
Well,
it's awesome. They're on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, super important. But I want them on net neutrality too. I want them in Puerto Rico. I want all that. I want them going down to Panama City to investigate the hotel issue, all that.
Trust me, we're trying, brother. We actually were in Puerto Rico, hopefully.
That's true. Well, yes. Nomiki was there. That's true.
The TYT Politics crew was,
yes.
And we'll have some of those clips up for you.
Yeah, she had some great interviews.
Check out TYT Politics for that. Matt writes in, Mulvaney is going to take apart the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the Republicans and Trump are going to tell you that it's going to be good for you because they lie about regulations. Of course, regulations, there's another rule for them. There's another word for them. That's law. It's the law. And so when they say we should get rid of all regulations, part of what they're saying is we should go lawless. And that's what they are. They're not for rule of law. They're for lawlessness.
I saw today that he's already put a freeze on new hiring, and their outreach to get money back is also put on hold as of right now.
Yeah. And
that's good.
Yeah. And John Kayan asks, I'm a Canadian citizen. How can I help Wolfpack? Well, it's a fair and good question. If you're outside the country, you cannot donate to Wolfpack. And that's good. Because Wolfpack's a super PAC, they're also now 501c4, and they're aimed at destroying all the other super PACs. But we don't want super PACs taking money from outside the country. That's why you can't donate to Wolfpack outside. Can you volunteer? Sure. You're Canadian. You care about your neighbor to the south. God bless your heart. You can volunteer. So go to wolf-pack.com. Okay, John, what's next?
Well, before we jump into the big news, just 2 things I want to mention just because they're important. We don't have time necessarily to delve too into them. One, especially because we've already been doing a lot on it. But that first one is that Republicans did vote just prior to us going live to advance the tax bill in the Senate. And so now there's going to be 20 hours of debate, and then there will be a vote. And apparently Ron Johnson, possibly some others that either had said that they were a no or that they were a maybe, seem to now be indicating that they might be in favor of the bill. So
can I say it now?
Yeah.
Of course they're in favor of giant tax cuts for their donors. I never believed Ron Johnson for a second. He's like, I'm concerned about how this might affect small businesses. No, you're not.
Well, what do you think about the trigger, though? Where if it raises the debt too much, then they'll hike up taxes automatically.
Oh, sure.
I think that will happen.
Sure it will.
Yeah. Anyway, so the reason we bring that up, though, is that this is go time to potentially do something to stop it. And, if you go on Twitter, there's a lot of the great sources giving information about how you can reach via phone, the senator's offices and things like that. In addition, also, and it's to give you an idea of the state of the world that we live in, North Korea tested another missile. This one, apparently, if it was fired at a flat trajectory, which it was not, could potentially reach almost anywhere in the mainland U.S., including Washington, D.C. Not necessarily with the added weight of a warhead on it. It's not believed that during the test it had a warhead, and that would be more difficult. We also don't know if they have the technology to miniaturize a nuclear warhead to fit on a missile like that. But that seems like big news that we unfortunately don't have time to get to because the world's falling apart.
Oh, yeah.
But that's going on. Anyway, let's jump to other news. This morning, Donald Trump tweeted out 3 extremely Islamophobic videos posted to Twitter by a xenophobic right-wing British political party. We're not going to show you the videos because they're BS, but we are going to show you the tweets, and then we're going to give you information about what exactly he was spreading this morning. Let's bring up this first one. You're going to see there, video, Muslim migrant beats up Dutch boy on crutches. That really sounds bad, and obviously any violence between people is bad, but there's a bit of a lie there in that the people doing the actual arrests, and there's information about those people when they're arrested, there's no reference to them being Muslim or any religion whatsoever. Actually, Ashley Parker of the Washington Post retitled it, "Brunette Dutch Boy Beats Up Blonde Dutch Boy." Yeah, no. He's not a migrant. He's born there. It's a complete lie.
He's not Muslim or a migrant.
Yeah.
So I believe that's what you call fake news. So Trump, with all his stupid attacks against the so-called fake news, he's the guy who invented fake news. He takes credit for inventing the word fake. But he did actually, his campaign and his Russian friends ran fake news nonstop before the election. That's where the term came from in the first place. And now here he is again, retweeting videos, smearing Muslims about a guy attacking a poor kid on crutches. That guy actually did attack that kid on crutches for reasons that are unfathomable, right? And it turns out not a Muslim, not a migrant. Donald Trump's a liar, and he wants to smear Muslims because he hates them, and he's a bigot.
Yeah. Now let's go to the second tweet. You're going to see here. It's from a video of this guy destroying that Virgin Mary or whatever. That apparently did actually happen. It's believed to have happened, the video, in Syria in 2013. So yes, that guy did destroy that little statue. That's terrible. I would say it probably ranks pretty low on the degree of terribleness of things happening in Syria back in 2013, let alone now. It seems a bit odd for the president of the United States to tweet out that video 4 years later, apropos of nothing.
It gets better. So it turns out that guy is part of a group that is anti-Assad, backed by the U.S. government. Oops. So that's one of our allies destroying a Virgin Mary statue. And by the way, I was told by a lot of folks here on the right wing, and by the way, and a point that I actually totally agree with and have said many times on my own, that Muslims are overly sensitive about people drawing the Prophet Muhammad. Because, hey, look, if you're Muslim and you don't want to draw the Prophet Muhammad, God bless, or Allah bless, that's up to you. But I'm not Muslim, I can draw whatever I like. Now, the Muslims so sensitive about a drawing. What did you do to our statue? How could you do something to our statue? Oh my God, what happened? All of a sudden you're a snowflake. Okay, well, why do you care about the statue so much? It sounds like you're like one of those Muslim fundamentalists who's like, oh, hey, the drawings, right?
I want to go on the record, I don't like statues being smashed of any kind because it's art, and I think we should just leave it alone. I don't necessarily like all of it.
Yeah. But they're whatever. Look, if it's a monument of a Confederate soldier who loved slavery, do whatever the hell you want with it, okay? In an orderly and civil way. Religious statues, I don't care. I mean, well, if they're historical artifacts, then I care. Yeah, like what the Taliban did to historical artifacts in Afghanistan was despicable.
Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah. Also, there's a distinction between don't destroy it and put it in, a courtyard or something for the government. I don't necessarily think you need to do that. Okay, so by the way, of course, Trump tweeted this because he cares about these religious artifacts and things being damaged, which is why I look forward to him showing videos of the mosques and synagogues that have been burned out, bombed out, and shot up recently. But that's probably not going to happen.
Oh, right, but to be fair, that didn't happen 4 years ago or in another country. That's happening here by his far-right buddies. But somehow he's not tweeting
about it. It's weird. Maybe he doesn't want to politicize it. You got to wait 4 years.
He's sending out this video. He's obviously doesn't like this Muslim guy. He's outraged by it. Well, I don't know if you know this. You're the president of the United States of America. You're the one funding his group. You want to pull his funding? No, I just want to pretend that all Muslims hate all Christians. And while Trump, you're the head of the government. You're funding him. Okay, so if you got anyone to blame, it's yourself.
Yeah, and then we have this third tweet. This is probably the most egregious one, showing an Islamist mob pushes teenage boy off a roof and beats him to death. So this apparently also did actually happen. They were, I believe, pro-Morsi demonstrators in Egypt, again back in 2013. It did actually happen, but it has absolutely nothing to do with what Donald Trump is doing right now. And look, to some extent, some people might say you're focusing too much on his tweets. But I personally, maybe I'm still naive. I think that when the president of the United States randomly tweets out 3 videos purely to drive anti-Muslim sentiment, that's a bad thing, that we should probably worry about it. I'm not the only one. I've read a report that some of the lawyers challenging his Muslim travel ban are going to be using these tweets as evidence of his implicit bias against Muslims. And imagine if you're a Muslim American waking up this morning and finding out that he just went and found 3 videos trying to make Muslims look bad. JR in the production meeting said this is like somebody going on World Star Hip Hop and just finding, a video of like 2 people in the inner city fighting and then saying, look at these African Americans, you should be scared of them.
Yeah, don't give him any ideas, John.
It's complete BS.
Almost certainly what Trump would also do.
Yeah, okay. He might do that.
Yeah, so now, look, by the way, the last video, let's be fair. So first of all, it is horrific. It's true. They did throw that kid off the roof, okay? Now, and this is what Donald Trump and Bill Maher talk about all the time, which is, hey, we need moderate Muslims to speak out against the fundamentalist Muslims. And those were fundamentalist Muslims that threw a poor kid off the roof. We need accountability. So now here's the part of the story you didn't hear. It turns out the Egyptian government captured the guys who threw the kid off the roof. And you know what they gave him? They gave him the death penalty.
Yeah.
How's that for accountability? So the guy you see in the video throwing the kid off the roof was executed.
Yeah.
He's already dead.
Amidst a wave of other arrests of people doing those sorts of things.
So
I don't know how much faith I necessarily have in the legal process, but it seems like in this case they did the right thing.
But the whole point of Donald Trump is all Muslims are bad. So I'll pretend that this guy in the first video is Muslim when he's not Muslim. I made it up. I don't care because I despise Muslims and I want you all to hate them no matter what they do. The second video is a guy basically Trump is funding. Okay, and the third video, like, but did the Muslims do anything about this? Yes, they did. They gave the guy the death penalty.
Yeah.
So, look, the guy Trump is a wild bigot. He's a bigot, racist of first order. There's no debate about it. And you take any other category here and you replace Muslims with it, and it is atrocious in any context. Now, I have to do this game because a lot of people in America do hate Muslims. Most of the right wing does. And so you have to play these games because they're like Muslims, they don't count. They're not real people. They're all evil and monsters, etc.
Yeah.
So let's replace Muslim with, Christians. Let's say that they're in a fundamentalist Muslim country. Their leaders are putting out propaganda videos about Christians doing terrible things. We got to go get the Christians. Look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
Turns out it wasn't even Christians doing it, right? They're like, no, you can't do that. We got to protect the Christians. We have to protect the Christians in Iraq, right? And you would be right. We should. The Yazidi, we should have to protect the Yazidi. Now take out Muslim and put in another group, Jews. If the president is sending out 3 tweets about how bad the Jews are, and it turns out the first video isn't about someone who's Jewish, but he's like, look at the Jew doing this. Oh, God, that's terrible.
Well, let's recall that he has tweeted anti-Semitic things before, including the Star of David in it, about global financial elites and conspiracies.
Yes. No, he said in Charlottesville about neo-Nazis that there are very fine people among them. Of course, he's also anti-Semitic. Oh, but his daughter is Jewish. He grew up an anti-Semite, so his daughter happened to marry a Jewish guy. You know what? At the Republican Jewish gathering, he said, I like to negotiate, and if any room knows about renegotiating, it's this room. What the hell does that mean, right? He's such an unbelievable bigot. But we take this as like, ho-hum, oh yeah, he attacks Muslims, but come on, really, is what a lot of right wing and unfortunately some of the media treat it that way. When if it was about any other religious group, people would be calling for his resignation nonstop. It wouldn't work, but I don't want us to get used to this monster, because he is. He's a monster.
Yeah, and it's bizarre. I know some people, there's a tool online where if you want to see what Trump's Twitter feed looks like, based on the people he follows, what is he seeing? You can look at that, and it's a hall of insanity, but you can do that. But people are asking, how is he even coming across these conspiracy theory posts in the first place?
Yes.
I mean, you saw that the name of the woman, one of I believe the deputy directors of Britain First, which is a UK xenophobic right-wing political party. She back in a few years ago was charged in the UK for religious aggravated harassment, so right up his alley. But that party in one election got 51 votes. It's not a big thing. Yeah, they spread stuff online, but how is he coming across in the first place? And then oddly enough, I know this is gonna be a weird thing, but it's part of a trend. If we can skip to the last graphic in the section 25, Britain First has a website where they spread propaganda like this, and recently they deleted these pro-Putin posts from last year. Because of course, for some reason, if you're a right-winger, even in the UK, you have to be like so pro-Putin. And they're big fans of him until they deleted the post to hide it.
No, I actually think there's a second possibility. So, yeah, these right-wingers, they're fascist by nature, and they look at Putin and they think, ooh, that's a fascist demigod. Keep Russia Russian. Why do you care if you're Britain first?
It was becoming oddly Chilean over the past few years, I thought.
Britain first, Russia second. What? No, there's some chance, that they're financed by the Russian government. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just saying that it's the second possibility. And we know why they're backing Trump and why they're doing the anti-Muslim propaganda. Because they're financed by the Russian government. It's not rocket science.
It's possible.
I think possible.
Ideologies run in parallel. I think there's a lot of that, what you said, the bowing to authority. They love the strong man. They wish that they could have a person like that in the UK.
Look, guys, your choice. Either Trump retweeted this group that is pro-fascist or paid off by the Russian government.
We can have a poll.
Oh, and by the way, and those are not exaggerations. This group also raids mosques in Britain. What the hell does that mean? And they do things called Christian patrols. So if the fascists were to take over Britain, and obviously, hopefully, it'll never happen. But if they were to, these guys would jump in and be like, yes, time for fascism. And Trump's like, wonderful. What can I retweet for you?
Yeah.
And how did Trump even get to this stuff? To get to your question of these insane anti-Muslim videos from this tiny little group.
Yeah.
So 2 possibilities there. One is Stephen Miller or Steve Bannon are like, hey, Donald, you're going to love this anti-Muslim bigotry. Let's spread it everywhere, right? Which is not such a great scenario. Or the second scenario is, Donald, we would like you to retweet something we found in Britain. Okay, what the hell kind of accent was that?
I mean, you nailed the accent, but I'm not sure that's what's going on. But you never know. Oh, and one final thing on this. So we reported recently over the past few weeks. There's been some new statistics on hate crimes over the past year or two, and both anti-Muslim and anti-Semitic hate crimes are skyrocketing, both during his run, but also since he became president. And so, like, the people who will say that these tweets don't matter, that, it's a distraction, we should purely be focused on something else, like, they don't realize that this does have a cost. It's a cost in blood in some cases, people being killed in our own country because of hatred against Muslims and against Jews. It's people who live terrorized because their Jewish community center has had 10 bomb threats over the past year and things like that. Like, these are people's lives who are literally being destroyed or in some cases ended, and they're being antagonized. They're being led by the president on this issue.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
Okay, why don't we go to the reaction? Okay. This morning, Donald Trump's retweets of the Islamophobic videos by a xenophobic British political party has been widely condemned by a number of different groups, defended by others. We're going to touch on both. The first is by the office of the UK Prime Minister Theresa May, who said it is wrong for the president to have done this, and says that the UK citizens overwhelmingly reject the prejudiced rhetoric of the far right. And so that is a good response. Obviously, the effect, as we've been talking about, of Britain first and people who agree with them in the UK is something that Theresa May and others there are going to be very focused on. They're concerned about the growth of that, and they don't like to see it being amplified by the U.S. president.
So Theresa May is right wing, and she's the establishment basically in the UK. So I've got a lot of issues with her, but she's the kind of establishment that we used to know, the devil we knew, which was sane, slowly crushing you with lower wages. Like, okay, we know how to fight back against that. Donald Trump is a totally different wild animal. And he's like, let's, look at these Muslims. And one of the videos, the guy's not even Muslim. Yeah. So Theresa May is forced into a position where she has to be the sane moderate, where she's like, wait, we just want to make more money. There's no reason to hate Muslims. It's weird. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Right. So now it makes us go, oh, way to go, Theresa May.
Yeah. Well, I don't have to give her too much credit, but I'm glad that she's speaking out against this, especially because as a prominent, especially female politician, there's every chance there's going to be 10 tweets about her tomorrow morning. So we'll see about that. Not yet. So that's Theresa May. But the White House did put out a statement because of people's problems with these retweets. So here is Sarah Huckabee Sanders to lie to you.
Whether it's a real video, the threat is real, and that is what the president is talking about. That's what the president is focused on, is dealing with those real threats, and those are real no matter how you look at it.
So it's okay if it's a fake video?
Look, I'm not talking about the nature of the video. I think you're focusing on the wrong thing. The threat is real, and that's what the president is talking about, is the need for national security, the need for military spending, and those are very real things. There's nothing fake about that.
I know that is her job, and it's the same as Sean Spicer. I hate press secretaries because she knows she is goddamn wrong. She is lying. The video is fake. It was known to be fake before he retweeted it. I'm not saying, well, whether the video is real, the threat is real. So whether I'm spreading fake news or not, I really think it's important that you hate Muslims, so I can show you whatever I want. I can just put, a scene from True Lies or something, and maybe it didn't really happen, but you should be scared about these brown people. That's insanity. It's coming out of the press, the press secretary of the White House.
Now we've unfortunately gotten to a point where we're going in circles, and the reason is, Trump says, CNN, MSNBC are fake news. Then he literally puts out fake news. And then his press secretary says, who cares? I don't care that the videos are fake. The issue is real. Anyway, what's the issue? The issue is we should all be scared of Muslims, even though they didn't do some of these things in the video. Yes, well, there's one part that's true, which is the bigotry is real. That you hate Muslims is real, that you discriminate and are racist is real. And so she's like, well, the videos are fake, but our racism is real.
Yeah.
Right? So we got that part, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to break through. In fact, this will probably help Trump with his voters.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. They're like, who cares that it's fake? We don't care. We don't care. Like Trump, we hate Muslims. We're done with it.
They don't care, and increasingly, it doesn't matter. And so that's why, even though this video, in a very real sense, is less. This video is being retweeted. This topic that we're talking about is less immediately bad than some of the other things we're going to talk about on the show. This almost pisses me off more because we're in, not even 1 year into the 7-dimensional chess of let the fascists take over the country for 8 years and we'll see what happens. Thinking that the only difference between politicians and parties is where they are in the spectrum between progressive and conservative. It's an incredibly simplistic, unrealistic way of looking at the world. There are other important factors, like whether you have any respect whatsoever for truth, whether there is anything that is verifiable about the world. You can have a discussion with someone who is different than you on the political spectrum, so long as both of you have some commitment to reality, to the real world, to not telling blatant falsehoods on a regular basis. And when I see these, when we have the reaction to the Pocahontas and she says it's not a racial slur, and then he puts out these videos and they say it doesn't matter if the videos are real or not, I seriously don't know if we will ever return to a point where what we say matters, that there are consequences for what you say, and that we'll be able to actually have some sort of discourse as a country between right and left, between parts of the right and parts of the left. Nothing matters anymore. And after 4 years of this, after 8 years of this, will you be able to talk to anyone? Will there be any persuasion left? I increasingly don't think that there will be.
And look, if you're on the side, it happens sometimes on the left, certainly more rare, but it does. But if mainly on the right, overwhelmingly on the right, if you're on the side of, I don't care what facts are, okay, just at least own up to the fact that you're on the lying side. You're on the side filled with falsehoods because you can't win an argument if you're in the reality-based world. So you have to create an unreal world. I mean, just what happened the other day with Gateway Pundit and all the blogs and spreading fake stories. They don't care. That's what they do. If you see a right-wing website, you can't trust anything in it. Almost all the right-wing websites are filled to the rim with lies. So if you're on that side, okay, I guess you're owing up to it. You just don't like this planet, so you'd like to be on a different planet where you guys are right, but you're not.
It's incredibly discouraging when our career is just trying to spread information, educate people, all that. But the goal is that hopefully you can just appeal to a few people, a percent of the other side, to try to expand the boundaries of respect for truth, respect for human values, these progressive principles that we have, and to see the entire. It's not even like we're trying to get to the people. It's the floor is dissolving beneath us. Everything is changing in horrific ways, and there are people thinking that this is just fun and games, that we can just do this for a while, that everything will be fine. We'll let Trump be the president for 4 years, for 8 years, and then we can just go back to normal, and maybe we can have a conversation about the minimum wage. Maybe we won't be able to have any conversation. This is every time we have a production meeting, it is so goddamn scary thinking about what the future will be like. We've always had problems, both as a country and, when we are trying to put together our show, there's been no time where things are great, where things are hunky-dory. But we're in a terrible place right now. And I feel beset from all sides by people who have no respect for the truth, no respect for expertise, no respect for any norms whatsoever. Anyway. We should probably take our break.
Yep. Now that we've told you that there are no norms left. Okay, so when we come back, the last window on freedom is closing. Bad news to worse news. So the state of net neutrality and how close they are to ending it when we return. Thanks for watching or listening to this free version of the Young Turks podcast. You know that the full show is at tytnetwork.com/join. If you become a member, you get the full show ad-free. We love you for watching or listening. Either way, there's going to be a new free podcast tomorrow. You can keep on doing that. But if you want to get the full show ad-free, tytnetwork.com/join. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk John, and I'll see you soon.